Hi everyone, Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook Promise. On December 14th,
Okay,
2012,
we are on day 13
my
here. And what we're doing today is getting ready to add a new pitch. So we're going to work on C, D, and E for another 2 days, today and tomorrow, and then going to add a new pitch. Now, before we start, let me just tell you a little bit about how I'm doing this. So, and what we're doing today is getting ready to add a new pitch. So we're going to work on C, D, and E for another 2 days, today and tomorrow, and then going to add a new pitch. Now,
Because I already
before we
recorded
start,
this
let me
once
just tell you
and it didn't work.
about
So I want to make sure
how
the
I'm
piano's
doing
working.
this. So
Listen to C, D, and E for now.
and what we're doing today is getting ready to add a new pitch. So we're going to work on C, D, and E for
I have to wait.
another. It looks like it's working. So the way this works is if you were just starting, you'd start with the quiet ear lesson 1, and then you'd go and you do day 1 of this perfect pitch training. It's all in the perfect pitch challenge playlist, and it's in order. So after 7 days of these daily sessions where you come in and you go through this, then you listen to that quiet ear lesson 1 again. So you're really doing 2 things. You're listening to this first, and then you're going over and listening to the exercise video. Now for today, I actually have the exercise video listed in the description. So once you finish today's session, you can go in and do the actual exercise video. It's conveniently located there for you. But the idea is we get a new one every week, and I'm doing this live stream for 30 days. Now, I already recorded this once today, and it didn't record the piano. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen this time, but I'm recording it again. And the reason I'm recording it again is because I think it's important for you to see that I come in every day, I do these exercises, and you can kind of see my process a little bit. All right, so we are going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be working with C, D, and E, but let's start with just a meditation. I want you, it's not a, we're just kind of meditating on the note. We're thinking about the note. I want you to mentally think of the note C. Go ahead and get it in your mind until you feel comfortable. Move it around a little bit until you feel like you've landed on C. Okay, now I'm going to play it. So keep it in your mind very strong. Okay, now I got it right. Got it right this morning too. So if you got it wrong, no big deal. Reacclimate. Hear that note. Hear everything about it. Don't use vowel sounds. Don't do anything like that. I think a picture's okay because a picture's quick. And we often have associations that are quick. But if you're using a vowel sound, my theory is that you're at least partially using some sort of muscle memory. And I think you want to avoid that. So I'm going to listen to the C. Get it in your head. Okay, now we're going to spend a few minutes. I'm going to tell you a note. I want you to audiate it for a few moments, and then I'll play it so you can check to see if you got it right. How about D? Hear it in as much detail as possible. Now let's go back to C. Just hold it out in your mind. Now E, hold it out in your mind. Try not to use relative pitch. Try and get into the actual sound of the note. Just feel it, like you know it's E. And D. And C. Now, I'm going to play 2 notes. One will be C, D, or E. The other will be some mystery note. I only want you to tell me whether you hear a C, a D, or an E. We're viewing the other notes as noise right now. So listen for C. I just told you the answer. It's C. All right. C, D, or E. Here's your C, by the way. I'm not going to play a confirmation on these. You either get it right or you get it wrong. D. I'll play a confirmation. Right now. C. Ooh. Okay, there's two notes in here. C, D, and E are your options. What notes are you hearing? E and D. Back to one note. E. We have a D. How about this? C, D, or E? What note is in there? E. Okay. C, D, or E? What note are you hearing? E. Okay. Now, I'm going to play a note. I just want you to tell me if it's C, D, or E. C, we're going to go fast. D. 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 C. 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 D. D. E. 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 C. D. C. D. E. E. C. D. E. C. D. Ooh. C. All right. Now, going back to finding the note within a texture, listen for the C. Tell me if you hear a C, a D, or an E. There's going to be two of the notes this time. So it could be C, D, C, E, D, E. It could be any combination of C, D, and E. So two notes will be C, D, and E. One note will be some extra note. So like this. So the correct answer here is C and D. This is a note we're not going to identify. Even if you can, try not to identify it. All right, C, D, or E. What notes are in here? D and E. Here's the top note. How about this one? C and E. Doesn't matter if you get them in order. We don't care about that for perfect pitch training. That's relative pitch training. If you get the correct notes, that's all that matters. It is C and D. Here's your D. Here's your C. C and E this time. Here's your E. Here's your C. Here's the other note. Okay, back to hearing C. Hear a C in your mind. Hear an E. Hear a C. Hear an E. Hear a D. Hear the D. Hear the C. I'll give you a little more time. E. C. D. Okay, now identify the note that I play. C. D. E. D. C. D. C. E. D. C. D. E. E. D. C. D. C. E. I'm going to add occasionally a note that is not C, D, or E. If you hear that, just say no. We're only identifying C, D, or E. C. No. D. D. E. E. No. Gotta be fast. C. I don't want you to think about it. D. E. D. No. C. If you get them wrong, great. E. D. No. D. C. E. No. 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 C. D. C. D. No. 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 C. E. D. E. C. D. D. C. 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 D. No. E. D. No. No. D. D. C. E. D. C. A little exhausting, a little rough. We're going to go back to identifying 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 notes will be a C, D, or an E. You identify what they are. I'm not going to repeat notes, so I'm not going to play 2 Cs. So it may be like C and D are the answers. The third note will always be outside. It's a hard one. I even know what the notes are. Okay, I can hear it now. So what's the answer? D and E. How about this? C and E. D and E. C and D. This is probably very difficult. Okay, we're going to spread them out. C and D. C and E. Now, one more thing. I'm going to play C, D, and E. And I want you to tell me which note is in the bottom. I'm hesitant to do this because this is more of a perfect relative pitch drill. So actually, we're not going to do that. I think we're going to end there for today because that's kind of going on 15 minutes. And so I just want to tell you real quick in the description, at this point, you should go through and do the exercise video for today. So this is a quiet ear lesson 2. So you just listen to that and then you're done if you want to follow along with me. And what we're going to do is we're going to have one more day of C, D, and E. So tomorrow is probably going to be a longer session because it's going to be kind of like the final exam for C, D, and E. And we want to really get these notes in our ear. I will tell you that I am not just doing this stuff. You know, it's not a true experiment because I have to keep doing other ear training activities. I'm doing my composing hour inner ear training. I listen to that daily so that I can see what my students are going through and make sure that each lesson doesn't skip anything. Because what I'll notice is if I listen to my own lessons, then I start to think about ways to actually make the next lesson even better. So that course is 52 weeks. It's all mapped out, but I have to go in each week and achieve the goals that I set out for each week. That's kind of how I work. When I create a massive program like Flawless Ear Training, I have goals for each unit, and then I have goals for each lesson. And when I go in, I make sure that I do whatever I can to help you achieve those goals. So, you know, with ear training, everything, you just go at your own pace. You just culture the ear. You just slowly develop the ear. It's not fast. It's not quick. If you want something quick, you know, like develop your ear in 30 days, I think you might be in the wrong field because for most people, ear training is going to take a long time. And yes, there are tricks. There are things you can do to quickly pass an exam. Like when I teach graduate students who are trying to get into graduate school, I can help them reach a point where they can methodically approach a test and pass it. But I don't know how long that type of training sticks because it's so short lived. So I always give them resources to continue developing their ear throughout their graduate program, because ear training is one of those things where musicians will often say, ear training, not that important. Do I really need it? Doesn't it just matter that I can play my instrument? And you won't know why you need ear training until you experience it. And once you have that solid ear, it's like learning to speak fluidly in a language as opposed to just having 10 words. I mean, pick out 10 of the words that you think you're going to use most commonly, 10 words that you could use to express whatever it is you need to express. Write them down and try and using only those 10 words for a day. You'll find that it's limited in what you can do. So what ear training does is it takes you through a path where you are being introduced to new vocabulary, which makes it easier for you to understand, communicate your ideas. So as a musician, it's kind of essential. And just to be able to hear inside chords, like, I mean, if you can't hear every note in that chord, then you're missing something. You're not performing on the level that you could perform at. You may have incredible technique, but without that ear training, that is fundamental. That is a part of you. The instrument is external, unless you're a vocalist, but the instrument is external. And so you can get really good at an instrument, but you still don't have the musical mind and brain to really get the most out of it, no matter what your technique is. So keep practicing, take this approach where you just try and come in and do a little bit of exposure to ear training every day. Like with my flawless course, it's a criticism by some, but I don't really care because I had a choice when I made that flawless course. I think I talked about this before, but I could have had a few lessons. I could have done a 30 lesson thing and been done and taught all the concepts. Instead, what I decided to do, because there isn't anything like it right now, is take you step by step, very intelligently, very methodically, through exercises that seem easy. You're going to sit there and you're going to think, am I actually learning anything? For some of you will find them challenging. But for those of you that are a little more advanced, you're going to be sitting there thinking, this is too easy. I'm able to just go through these lessons and you'll make a few mistakes here or there, but ultimately you feel like overall the lessons are too easy. But what happens is they're building slowly. We're putting one grain of sand down at a time every day. And over the course of 2 to 4 years, depending on your pacing, you will finish the entire course and you'll have a much more powerful ear than you have right now. I'm never going to say your ear will be perfect because that's a lifelong thing. I'm still developing my ear. We can always hear more in music. And that's why now I'm doing this perfect pitch thing. I want to see if there's anything to it, using the techniques that do exist while also creating some of my own based on what I feel are flaws in the current techniques. So that's all I'm doing. I am experimenting with progressive, coarse, and perfect pitch. It is just going to be free as long as YouTube exists, as long as they allow me to make it free. And we're going to keep learning. So it just depends on what you want. Some people, they are very self-motivated. You give them an exercise and you say, okay, master it. And they'll go out and find a way to master it. Other people who just want to play their instrument don't have a lot of time to be thinking about their ear training. That's where the flawless course comes in, because you go in and you just press play. Maximum, you spend 3 days on a lesson and then you move on. And you'll find that this slow progression will give you more substantial results over the long term. That's my experience. I've had that I know of. There's more people that are taking it, but I've had over 1,000 people now take that course, and I'm not hearing too many complaints about it. I'm not really hearing any yet. I'm sure they'll come eventually, but people are finding that it opens up their ear. They're hearing things differently, and they're enjoying the course. So it's just a matter of what you want. If you want to try and use apps and things like that, go for it. See if it works. If there's a shortcut that you can take, I'd be glad to give it to you. I just don't know what it is. And so that's why my courses are so involved, because I'm kind of dedicated to helping you develop your ear. All right, I'm starting to ramble a little bit, but that's it for today. I will see you again tomorrow, and let me know how you're doing. Let me know if you're seeing any results, any success. You may develop perfect pitch and I won't. That's just kind of the nature of being the teacher sometimes, but keep going, and I will see you next time.